Natalie felt deliciously sore after losing her to Nick, who she was going to marry today. She wanted to wait until her wedding, but she couldn't control herself last night after getting drunk. Natalie heard Nick taking a shower in the bathroom and had half a mind to join him, when suddenly she heard a knock on the door. Natalie wondered who was on the door so early in the morning. Little did she know she was going to get the biggest shock of her life. She opened the door, and who she saw left her gasping for air. It was her father and Nick, her fiancé, standing at the door. How could it be possible? If Nick was here, then who was the man in the shower? Natalie's father slapped her in anger, and he could not believe that she slept with someone right before her wedding day. The clothes lying around the room were an evidence to what had happened last night. Her father was embarrassed of her. How could she have done this to a nice guy like Nick? He was ashamed to raise a disgraceful woman like her. Her father was going to slap her again, but Nick stopped him. Nick was confused, shocked, and broken. He never expected Natalie to do such a thing. Natalie begged Nick to believe that she did not do anything wrong. She was drugged last night and set up to sleep with the stranger, and that she thought it was him. Natalie knew that her evil stepsister had drugged her at the bachelorette and left her with the stranger. Her stepsister lied to her and denied that she did not do anything. It was because of Cheryl, her own fiancé, didn't trust her. After countlessly pleading, nobody believed Natalie, and Nick shouted at her. He was pissed at Natalie for blaming someone else for her He had just gone for 6 months, and Natalie felt the need to crawl into someone else's bed, and that too 1 day before their wedding. Natalie begged him to believe her, for the sake of their love and the time they have been together. Nick asked Natalie to shut up, and that all the lies coming out of her mouth disgusted him. He took a pause and called off their wedding. He told Natalie that he does not want to see her ever again, after which he left from there. Natalie screamed and sobbed, but Nick didn't give their relationship one last chance. Natalie was devastated, and she could not control herself. Natalie's father told her that she was no longer a part of their family, and if she has any shame left, then she should never set her foot into her house. From this day on, she was not his daughter. Natalie was a nobody to him now. But only her stepsister knew the true story, how she had drugged Natalie's drink, followed by dragging her to the stranger's room. The next day, Natalie's father asked her to pack her bags and move to another country, far away from them, so that they are not reminded about her disgusting actions. He sent Natalie into exile to evaluate what all she has done and bury in guilt. Natalie felt like this was a dead end, nobody who would trust her, and the fact that she is innocent. Cheryl entered, taunting Natalie, asking her if she was all right. She finally confronted her and told her the truth, that it was her who set her up. Natalie was confused. Why would she do such a thing? Was she so warped with envy that she could go to such an extent? Why would she ruin her life? Cheryl revealed that she did all this to marry Nick. She wanted to snatch him away from Natalie because she could not stand the thought of them being happy together. Natalie was perplexed. She couldn't believe that her stepsister was in love with her fiancé. Cheryl was aware that Nick would never leave Natalie under normal circumstances, so she created this entire trap to end their relationship, so that Nick would never trust Natalie again. Natalie's blood boiled with anger, and she strangled Cheryl's neck. Cheryl shouted to grab everyone's attention, and just then her father came running to see what was happening. Tom shouted at Natalie, "How dare you try to kill your own sister on top of breaking your own wedding?" Natalie's stepmother slapped her and called her a lying brat, and that she was the same as her dead mother, disgusting and hideous. She asked Natalie to keep her heinous hands off Cheryl, or else she will make sure Natalie has the same fate as her dead mother. While Natalie was getting thrashed by her family, the stranger she had slept with last night, Bryce, had no clue who she was and how they landed in the same. Bryce ordered his assistant to get information and CCTV footage of what had happened. His assistant entered, and he asked him how the investigation was going. The assistant revealed that Bryce was set up by a business competitor last night. "Competitor?" Nick exclaimed. "Who was trying to mess with him?" He wanted all information on who the girl was and what all happened between them. The assistant mentioned that all the proof has vanished and there was no way to figure out how it all happened. Somebody had bribed the hotel reception last night and all proof has been taken away. Bryce couldn't believe it. Who had set him up? And who was the girl in his bedroom? The assistant mentioned that Bryce had not stepped into his own room. After being drunk, he mistook somebody else's room as his and barged in. Bryce was baffled. He did not understand what and how it all happened. He tried to recollect details from his memory of last night, but he could not remember much. Apart from the fact that she was a virgin, Natalie had no choice but to leave from there. She had nobody left. But she never thought the love of her life wouldn't trust her. Natalie knew one thing for sure. One day she will return and prove her innocence. She will take her revenge on Cheryl. She was not going to tolerate the humiliation and surrender to her sister's lies. She will bring out the true story and make everyone regret their actions. It had been 5 years since Natalie was sent out of the country, and she had a son called Liam, who nobody knew about. She was exiled without knowing when she could return. One day she got a call from her father asking her to come back to attend Nick and Cheryl's engagement. Everybody's taunt from 5 years ago still haunted her. How her father called her a disgraceful woman and never called her once after she was exiled. As if she was dead to her own father. Her spiteful stepmother who never liked her and wanted to get rid of her since the day they met. Nick, who was filled with rage and blinded by what he saw in the room that morning. The one person she thought would have trusted her. And her venom-filled stepsister who was behind all of this. The one who snatched Natalie's perfect life from her. And now Natalie has returned to face the same people and step into the same crappy house where she had suffered the most, to see her ex-fiancé and stepsister getting married. Natalie was lost in her thought when Liam came running. Liam asked if everything was okay. The nervousness and fear on her face was visible. Natalie loved Liam more than anything. He took so much care of her. Liam was very precious to her, and she wouldn't have come so far alone. All these years, Natalie worked very hard and became an independent working mother. Not once in all these years did her father send her any money. Today she could afford first-class tickets all because she believed in herself and worked very hard. Liam stood up to get water for his mother. He was only 4 years old, but was sensible as a small adult. While coming back, Liam ran towards Natalie and banged against a man, spilling water all over him. The man got upset. He asked Liam to watch where he was going. Liam apologized to the man. The stranger didn't accept his apology and scolded him for ruining his pants. Liam ran over to the stranger and called him Daddy. Bryce pushed him away and said that he was not his daddy. Natalie stepped in to apologize for Liam's behavior, but she did not realize Bryce was in reality Liam's father. Bryce got upset and insulted Natalie, that it was very smart of her to train the kid to call a rich-looking man his daddy. A lot of women have done the same trick to get Bryce's attention, and that he wouldn't fall for it. He added, Natalie should not have become a mother if she was not capable of taking care of the child. Natalie was taken aback by the man's words. How dare he say something about her and Liam? How dare he insult her son? She could not hear anything against Liam. And on top of that, the stranger had the audacity to question Natalie's character. She had dealt with enough in the past, and she was not the same person. She was strong and wouldn't think before giving it back to anyone. Natalie asked the stranger to back off and mind their own business. She doesn't need to trap a man for money. She could do that for herself. She explained that Liam accidentally spilled water on him and mistook him to be someone else. It was all a big misunderstanding, and that he shouldn't cross limits and assume such vile things. Bryce was not going to apologize, and he was shocked by Natalie's confidence and courage. He had never met a woman like Natalie who wouldn't hesitate to talk back. Natalie told him that he should be kinder to people he meets, and not be so rude and blunt. He shouldn't blurt out whatever comes to his mind. Words have repercussions and can hurt people's feelings. Later, Natalie asked Liam why he called that man his father. Where did this come from all of a sudden? But Liam was adamant, and he said he could feel some sort of connection with the man. Natalie ignored it as one of his mischiefs and asked him not to do it again. Natalie stepped out of the airport to find her stepsister waiting. Natalie was already pissed to see her face. Liam asked who the two people were, while Cheryl was confused who the kid was. Natalie answered that Liam is her son. Cheryl was confused. Natalie got married and did not inform anyone. Who was the person who could marry her? Or was this child the result of the night she cheated on Nick? Natalie did not want to pretend that she liked any of them. She asked Cheryl how could she live knowing what she had done 5 years ago, after setting up a trap for her and ruining her life. Nick interrupted her and said Cheryl is not to be blamed for her careless actions and loose character, because of which this illegitimate child is here. Natalie asked Nick to watch his language. Nick did not hold back and called Liam an illegitimate. Natalie slapped Nick. How dare he call Liam illegitimate? Cheryl was shocked. How could Natalie hit Nick? Natalie said if she keeps talking nonsense and doesn't own up to her mistakes, she will get one slap too. Nick said that he was not scared of Natalie, and she was invited only out of niceness, so that the rest of the family doesn't question if everything is all right. Liam stepped in to push Nick away. He asked them to not bully his mother. Bryce overheard the conversation and stepped in to pick Liam. He called Liam his little boy and pretended to be the father, all because he felt guilty of how he had behaved with Natalie earlier. Liam complained to Bryce, saying that the two people were being mean to his mother. Natalie joined in and pretended along that Bryce was her husband, just to show Nick and Cheryl their place and make them jealous. Bryce took a pause and asked Nick to watch his tone before talking to a lady, and calling someone else's son an illegitimate. Bryce offered to drop Natalie and Liam to their house. Natalie thanked Bryce for helping them. Liam also said thank you, he continued. Daddy came in to save us from those two mean people like a superhero. Natalie shushed him right there, and she reminded him to not call anyone his daddy. It is not funny to do so. But Liam did not agree and continued. Daddy came in to save us from getting bullied. If he was not my father, why would he save me? Natalie apologized to Bryce for everything that was happening. Bryce told Natalie that he only helped them because he overheard the conversation and felt pity for them. Otherwise, he would never come to save a woman like her. Natalie was taken aback. What did he mean by woman like me? Did he judge her based on one conversation that he overheard without having any context to her? Natalie was not there to take insults from him, and she did not feel the need to explain her past to an absolute stranger. Natalie asked the driver to stop the car right then and there. She looked at Bryce and said thank you for dropping us, after which she threw spare change at him and told him that she hopes she never sees him ever again. Natalie had gone to her grandmother's place to live in peace, until she saw Nick and Cheryl drive up. Cheryl entered and pretended to be all friendly with Natalie, and Natalie was done with her fakeness. She asked Cheryl to leave her alone. Cheryl said she did not have any interest in being around her, but their dad wanted to see her and Natalie has to come home tomorrow. Natalie did not want to go meet her father, but she could no longer run away from her past fears, and she had to face them to move ahead in life. The next day, Natalie showed up at her father's house. Tom entered. He asked if she has used her exile period to look inwards and evaluate her past mistakes. Then his gaze fell on Liam and he said whoever this child belongs to, he will never be accepted as a part of this family. This child is a shame, an evidence of that unfortunate night, and it is best if Natalie gets rid of him. Natalie replied, "None of you cared to contact me even once in these 5 years, when I was poor, pregnant, and struggling." Liam was the only ray of hope and the one positive force in her life that pushed her to reach where she is. Nobody knew what it was like to go to a foreign country, be clueless, and have nobody to ask for help. She was not going to let go of him. Her father denied to accept Liam as his grandson. Natalie said she doesn't care if he accepts Liam or not. Liam is her son and she loves him. That's all that mattered. She said she has only come back for the engagement, after which she will leave. Her dad stopped her. He said she can only come to the engagement party if she doesn't bring the child along with her. Natalie leaves from there in anger. Nick follows her and stops her. He wanted to ask Natalie one question from a long time. Why had she called Cheryl a lying cheat? That she was sick of her tricks? When in reality, she was the one who had cheated on him. What right does she have to say something like that to her? Natalie betrayed him and another man, and now she is back with his child. Natalie interrupted him and asked, "Is there something else you want to shout out? Or do you finally have the time after 5 years to listen to the truth?" Even after knowing each other for so long, Nick did not have 1 ounce of trust in her back then. She was set up and he left from there without asking a single question. But now she has moved on and they don't owe each other anything. Nick took a pause, looked at Natalie and asked, "What do you mean by you were set up?"
To listen to the full audio series, install the Pocket FM app now.